I'm Beth from My Tutoring Bee, and today we're talking about conversion of decimals and percentages. I have a few examples for us, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, when we are converting from decimals to percents, as we're going to start off with on this first page, we are basically multiplying by 100 because when we think about decimal places, we want to think about those two place values after the decimal point because those are the tenths and hundredths. So those make up the amount out of 100. So let's see how that works. So again, we want to know how many hundredths. So let's go ahead and take this 0.25 and we're going to multiply it by 100. So I'm just going to set my multiplication problem up here. 0 times 5 is 0, so we're going to get zeros all the way across the board with this first 0, drop down a 0, multiply with this second 0, and then drop down 2 zeros, multiply by 1, we get 5, we get 2, we get 0, and then when we add that all up, my problem got a little bit crooked here, but that's okay. So we've got 0, 0, 5, 2. We've got two place values after the decimal, so that's how many times we move our decimal over. So this winds up being 25. So a much quicker way of doing this is by just moving that decimal point 2 digits to the right. One way that I help my students to remember which direction to go is D comes before P in the alphabet. So if we just line those two letters up on our paper somewhere, then we know that to go from decimal to percent, we're going to be moving to the right. And it's always 2 digits because we are either multiplying or dividing by 100 when we're going from percentage to decimal. So we're going to do that for the rest of these problems. We're going to locate that decimal, move it 2 places to the right. Now this one only has 1 digit after the decimal point. So any open spaces, we're just going to fill in with a 0. So then this gives us 70%. Oops, and I forgot to put my percentage sign on the 25 there. So that gives us 70%. All right. So again, even if there are more digits than just 2, we're going to go ahead and move that decimal over only 2 times. So now that decimal appears right here between the 4 and the 3. So we get 14.3%. And yes, you can have decimals in a percentage. Here we've got a whole number, a number in the ones place, but still we're just going to keep following that same rule of moving it over twice. So now we've got 184%, which makes sense because a percentage that is more than 100 should be more than one whole of something. So we've got that one whole plus the additional 84 hundredths. Now this is a whole number. We don't see a decimal point here. So whenever we have a whole number, we can go ahead and drop that decimal in there. It's always going to appear right behind that whole number. So this 3 is in the ones place. So again, we're going to move it over 2 times. Both of these spaces are empty, so we're going to fill that in with zeros. So this becomes 300%. And then the same thing here, move it over 2 times, right there between the 2 and the 7. So we get 5,412 and 7/10%. Now let's take a look at how to convert from percent to decimal. We're basically just going to go in the opposite direction. So again, we're thinking of how many hundredths do we have, and we want it in that hundredths place value, those 2 digits after the decimal point. So we want to know how many hundredths are in these percentages. So let's go ahead, and this time we are going to divide by 100. So we're going to take 62 divided by 100. Okay, so 62 cannot be divided by 100 right here, so we have to go ahead and add on a decimal and another 0 here underneath the bracket. So 100 can go into 620 6 times. 6 times 100, whoops, is 600. Subtract, we get 20. We're going to go ahead and add in another 0, drop that down. 100 can go into 200 2 times. That comes out evenly there. So we wind up with 0.62. So as you can see, we have just taken that decimal. Now 62 we don't see a decimal point, so that means we know it has to come right after that 2. And this time we're going to go to the left. So again, that same way of remembering which direction to go, if we write D and P on our paper. D comes before P in the alphabet. So then to get from percent to decimal, we have to go to the left. So that's the same as dividing by 100. So we're going to do that for the rest of these. All right, so we've got 49%. There's that decimal point. We don't see it initially, so we can write it in. And then we're just going to move it over 2 times. It's always 2 times and only 2 times. So we get 49.49, sorry, 49 hundredths. All right, here we've got 8%. So again, no decimal, so we're going to put it in there. Now 8 is a single digit, but we need 2 movements. So we are going to go ahead and fill in that empty space with a 0. So we get 0.08 or 8 hundredths. Here we do see a decimal, so we're just going to keep moving to the left 2 units. Again, we've got an empty spot, so we've got 0.092 or 92 thousandths for this one. Here we have a 3-digit number. There's that decimal. We're going to move it over 2 times to the left. So it goes there between the 5 and the 0. So we wind up with 5.03 or 5 3/100ths. And then lastly, we're going to move this one over 2 times. So it winds up there between the 4 and the 1. So now we have 4.176 or 4 176 thousandths. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful for you in learning how to convert decimals to percents and percents to decimals. This is part of my pre-algebra series. I have a link in the description below that goes over all kinds of different skills that you would learn in a typical pre-algebra class. So check that out if that's helpful for you. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. That does help me to continue making these videos, and I'll see you next time.